everyone. I'm not prepared to give a talk today. I intended to be prepared to give a talk today. I am definitely not prepared to give a talk today. So I thought I'd talk about not being prepared, or life not conforming to our expectations. One of my favorite koans is case number 13 from the Mumonkan. Toku-san carries his bowls. So I'm just going to read a couple of lines from the koan. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Toku-san one day came down to the dining room carrying his bowls. So it's important to know that Toku-san is one of the great Zen masters. And around the time that this story happened, he had probably been the abbot of the monastery for many, many years. So Toku-san knows when the morning meal is to be served. So he's leaving his chambers with his bowls on his way to the dining hall. Seppo said, and Seppo is the tenzo. So tenzo is the office of temple cook. It's a really actually important position, for obvious reasons, because the cook is responsible for making sure all the monks have food. And also it's a very demanding position because it's uncertain what supplies are going to be available, because everything is donation based. And so you have to figure out how much to make and how much not to. So it's a very important position, a very stressful position. So Seppo, the tenzo, says, "Old master, the bell has not rung and the drum has not been struck. Where are you going with your bowls?" So in other words, like, yeah, it's not time for the meal yet. Why are you here? Toku-san at once turned back to his room. So it's a pretty remarkable story. We've got this seasoned abbot of a monastery who has taught everyone in the monastery about the rhythms and routines of temple life. And he's walking to the dining hall with his bowls, and the tenzo is late. And the tenzo scolds the master for being early. And Toku-san, the master's response is, "Okay," just goes back to his room. All of us develop expectations and ideas about what will happen in the future, plans. And, the thing about plans is, at best, they are sort of like imaginary scenarios about what might happen. And rarely, you might just check this out in your own experience, rarely do our concepts of the future match the reality of the present moment when we get to that future. But planning is also, and having concept about the future can be useful. Farmers plant seeds in anticipation that there'll be a harvest, so that's planning. Now they have no idea what the weather's going to be like, or if there's going to be anything to harvest when harvest season comes, but still planting the seeds is important. And planning for the future can be important too. It's just that we have no idea if we're going to be there, if the future will be like we think it's going to be, what the conditions will be like then, etc. So a question that comes up a lot I hear from students is, so what do we do when we plan and plans don't work out? Should we just not plan? And the thing is, we can't avoid planning or conceptualizing. We have minds, and minds are the organ that secretes thoughts. We don't have any, we have, just as much control over whether our mind is secreting thoughts as we do over whether our endocrine glands secrete hormones. It's not under conscious control, it just happens. So it's a tool. We can use these mind secretions to give us a sense of what to do now in the present. But we have no idea what impact that behavior will have on the future or what the future will be like. And even if we have the experience of the same types of things happening over and over again, we get into routines, doesn't mean that in the future those routines will play out the same way. So, in this koan, Master Tokusan is teaching Seppo, his Tenzo, a very important lesson, which is true liberation is holding all of your expectations and thoughts lightly, and in a moment being willing to adjust to the actual circumstances of your life. And it doesn't matter if you're the abbot of the monastery, life will never 100% of the time meet your expectations. So, we don't have Tokusan scolding the Tenzo and saying you're late, or quoting rules about conduct. He just, okay, I guess breakfast isn't ready. I'll go back and wait for the bell. I think it's an important lesson on holding our expectations and our thoughts lightly. It's not throwing them away, not having thoughts or plans, but at a moment's notice, being willing to see our thoughts and plans for what they are, and that is, delusion, in the sense of that they're not real; they're just concepts. And the reality of our life may or may not resemble those concepts. So sometimes you carry your bowls to the dining hall and it's time to eat. And sometimes you start walking toward the dining hall and you're carrying your bowls and it's actually not time to eat. So then you've got a choice. Do you try to make reality conform to your expectations? Should be time to eat. Why isn't dinner ready or breakfast ready? And that's suffering. Or do you just turn around and go back to your room, go and do something else? So, I guess even if I did prepare for a talk today, who knows if it would have turned out the way I had planned it. And maybe I would have had to carry my bowls back to my room. Or maybe there would have been a breakfast for me to eat. I don't know. I'm really stretching the koan now. I think the important thing to keep in mind is that you need to trust your own experience, what your actual life experience is, and maybe have some healthy suspicion about what your mind says your life is, who you say you are, what you're supposed to do, who these people are you're interacting with, all of it. Because everything is constantly changing. And our Zazen practice gives us a very practical and straightforward way of learning how to come back again and again to our experience, and to hold the products of thinking lightly, not to get rid of them, but to hold them lightly and use them when they're helpful, and when they're not helpful, to be at a moment's notice willing to let them go.